Hey everybody, Carrie Clark here with Speech and Language Kids and the SLP Solution. And today I'm going to teach you how to help a child respond to his or her name when we call their name. So this is a skill that we work on in speech therapy sometimes, but it's also one that can be worked on at home. By the time a child is around 1 year to up to 2 years, we expect them to start being able to respond to their name. Now, not all the time, because they're not always going to be paying attention to you or interested in tuning into what you're tuning into. But we do want them to have the ability to do this. So if you have a child who is struggling to respond to their name, before you get started, you definitely want to check their hearing. So check with their pediatrician, make sure that the hearing is okay. And if it is, then there are a few quick steps that you can go through to help encourage them to respond to their names. So the first step that we're going to use is responding to their name in an isolated setting. So we all know that when young children are distracted by toys and activities and screens, it can be really hard to get their attention to have them respond. So we start off by having a very, very isolated setting, meaning you are removing as many distractions as possible. If you are working with a younger children, sitting in their high chair would be a great one for this at the kitchen table because there's not going to be a lot of distractions around there and they can't just run off. Or in their car seat if you're sitting in the car and maybe waiting on something. Or any other kind of setting, if you're in the therapy setting, just removing those distractions of the other therapy materials and toys. So we get to an isolated setting, and then we're going to wait till they're not looking directly at us, but we are going to say their name. So let's say the name is Johnny. We're going to say Johnny. And then if they look at us, we need to reinforce that. So there needs to be something that makes them realize that it's worth looking when someone calls your name. And so we can do that with toys if there's something that they enjoy. We can do social games like peekaboo or tickles. We can just give them a hug or attention. Or some children really are motivated by food, so giving them a piece of their favorite food. I've done this with those little mini M&Ms. I know that's not healthy, but sometimes we got to do what we got to do. So being able to use something like that is a great option as well. So what you're going to do then is you're going to say Johnny, and then you're going to wait and see if they respond. If they respond, you're going to say, "You heard your name. Good listening," and then provide the reinforcement. So we're not just reinforcing, we are telling them why they're getting reinforced and giving them that feedback. So that's responding in an isolated setting. After you play with them or do whatever, you're going to just kind of sit back and let them get distracted again by looking around, just anything where their focus isn't straight on you. And then you do it again. Johnny. If they don't respond, so if you say their name and they don't look at you, then you're going to say it again louder. And this time, do something to try to get their attention. So maybe you say, Johnny, Johnny, hey, Johnny, woo, Johnny. And you're going to keep saying their name, but you're going to kind of make a commotion to see if they'll look then. If they still don't look at you, then you might have to kind of move yourself into their line of vision and go, Johnny, and wait for them to look at you. So keep getting more and more elaborate until you get their attention, and then reinforce with whatever it is that's reinforcing for that child. So you want to practice this a bunch of times in different times so that they're getting lots of repetition of, when I hear my name, if I look, I get something fun happen. And then once you feel like they're doing that pretty consistently, where you're not having to make the big commotion, but if you just say their name when they're not distracted, that they're able to look at you, then you can move on to step 2, which is responding in a structured setting. And all that means is that you're just having a few more distractions. So maybe you give them a toy to play with, or maybe the screen's on in the background, like the TV's on in the background, so there's a little bit of noise. So we're not changing it drastically. We're not expecting them to do this when they're already engrossed in a great play activity. We're just adding a few more distractions and doing the same thing. Say their name. If they look, reinforce. If they don't, get bigger. And we keep doing that until we feel like we've got this good rhythm of, even if there's a few distractions, that they're able to respond to their name and get that reinforcement and feel really good about that. That's step 2. So then step 3 would be, once you get to that point where they're doing it consistently, Then you move on to throughout the day. So, yeah, maybe they are sitting there playing with their toys and you say their name and try to get their attention. Keep in mind, you're probably going to have to get more elaborate than you will when there's fewer distractions, just because that's the nature of kids. They're going to be distracted. They're not going to necessarily be focusing. But if you say their name and maybe tap their shoulder or give them some sort of a physical cue, then maybe that's all they need to be able to look. If not, you just keep getting bigger and reinforcing when they come back to responding to their name. And then you can just do that throughout the day. Do it while they're playing, do it while they're eating, do it when you come to pick them up from childcare. Whatever situations you have, reinforce by saying, "You heard your name, great looking," or "great listening," so that they know that this is a skill that we would like them to be able to use. Because it really does. It's going to impact their ability to engage in others. It really does have an impact socially for them. So, those are the steps. We have a ton more resources on the speechandlanguagekids.com website for working with children who are having trouble responding and engaging. We have lots of great social tools over there. So head over to speechandlanguagekids.com. Also, don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. We have stuff on all of those platforms as well. All right. Thanks so much. See you tomorrow.